What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be showcasing the new Bystial archetype that we'll be getting in Darkwing Blast. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. I'd also like to mention that I'll be showcasing a couple of different decks with the Bystial cards because of how flexible and splashable they are, and I'll begin by showing what they can do in Despia. As you can see, Lubellian Reeds cannot be normal summoned set, must be special summoned from your hand or graveyard by tributing one level 6 or higher Dark Dragon monster that does not activate. You can only special summon the Lubellian once per turn. You can only use each of the following effects of Lubellian once per turn. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, add one Bystial monster from your deck to your hand, except Lubellian, and during your main phase, you can place one branded continuous spell trap from your deck face up in your spell trap zone. So with the ability to search your Bystial archetype cards along with the new branded trap and spell that I'll go over in this video, it's a great way to enable a lot of plays, as you'll see momentarily. As I add Magnuma to hand here, you can target one light or dark monster in either graveyard, banish it, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. This is a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. It's important to note that all the Bystial level 6 monsters that we have this effect. And if this card is special summoned, you can activate this effect, add one dragon monster from your deck or graveyard to your hand during the end phase of this turn, except Magnamut. You can only use each of these effects once per turn. So to continue, I'll start by normal summoning the Aluber using its effect, grabbing the Branded Fusion, then we can use the Branded Fusion, which will send a copy of Fallen of Albaz and the Saronir to fusion summon the Lubellian, and Saronir reads you can target one light or dark monster in either graveyard, banish it, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. This is a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster, and if this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send one Bisted monster except Saronir or one branded spell trap from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use each of these effects once per turn, so you can see why we're sending it with Branded Fusion now, as I'm going to use the Saronir Chainlink 1, Lubellian Chainlink 2, bring out the Mirror Jade, send the Rebranded, which is an insanely powerful spell card coming out in this set. It reads that if a light and or dark monsters is banished, you can target one of those monsters, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw one card. You can only use this effect of Rebranded once per turn. Once per turn, if your opponent normal or special summons a monsters, you can target one Bystial monster in your graveyard, special summon it. You can only use this effect of Rebranded once per chain. An easy way to get advantage and be able to do other cool things with it as you get the draw and stuff, but you'll see I'm going to bring out the Magnamut, and from there I can tribute it off for the Lubellian after I get its effect, and I can use the Lubellian effect, which will grab me the Branded Beast, which reads once per turn during the main phase. If you control a Bystial monster, you can tribute one dragon monster, then target one card your opponent controls, destroy it. During the end phase, you can target one branded continuous spell trap in your graveyard, place it face up on your field. You can only use this effect of Beast once per turn. So now you can see why we set the Rebranded to the graveyard, as we now have Beast face up on the field due to Lubellian. We'll go to the end phase now, and we'll place the Rebranded onto our field, in which now we can use the Mirror Jade here, banishing the Aluber, which will trigger our Rebranded. Rebranded can put it back to the deck, which will get us a draw one, and now we can use the Albion to get us our Branded in red. We can use the Magnuma to add the Bystial Druid Worm, which reads you can target one light or dark monster in either graveyard, banish it, and if you do, special summon this card from your hand. This is a quick effect if your opponent controls a monster. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can target one opponent's special summon monster, send it to the graveyard, and you can only use each of these effects once per turn. So I've pretty much read over all of the Bystial cards that you'll need to know. There is one more coming in this set, which is kind of like the boss monster of the archetype, and I'll read that later. But there's also a new level 6 that we'll be getting in a future set, which also has some interesting implications for the Bystial cards. So with this end board, you can now see that Despia has the ability to end on something else other than Mirror Jade, but more importantly, the back row, that you're able to set off it with Lubellion being a monster that doesn't necessarily care about being super polyed in a situation like this, because unless your opponent is also playing Despia, there's not really much that can be made with these two monsters on board. And having the Druid Worm as a hand trap, along with back row that your opponent has to play around, is pretty strong in my opinion. You also have 3 random cards that you'll start off with, as the Albaz drawn and the 2 talents were all stacked by me. So now I'll get on to the second Despia combo, and this one will be using the Branded in High Spirits. I want to show this just because it's interesting and you can get into your Despia stuff like this, but you'll see that I'm going to start by using the Lubellion here. And from there we can add the Saronir, then we can use the Branded in High Spirits, which will send the Albion and the Saronir, which will allow us to add the Albaz, get the Saronir effect, sending the Rebranded. Then we can special summon the Magnemite here, then we can use its effect, tribute it off for Lubellion, then we can place the Beast. From there we can go to the end phase, get our Rebranded back, and then we can use the Albion to get our branded opening. So I know that this isn't anything special, but I thought it was still interesting to show because of what it does for the consistency of Despia. So now I'll be showcasing a 3-card combo with Dragon Link here and the Bystial cards. The funny thing that I've kind of noticed about Dragon Link with the Bystial cards is you'll be taking a million different avenues to end kind of like on the same thing. And while that always isn't necessarily true, it can feel that way. So I'm going to start here by using the Lubellion, and then I can add the Magnemite, then we can normal the Tracer, link that off into Striker Dragon, grab ourselves the Boot Sector launch. From there we can use the Striker Dragon, getting ourselves back the Rocket Tracer, and from there we can use the Magnemite effect, banishing the Striker, use the Magnemite, and from there we can tribute it off for Lubellion, use Lubellion's effect. The Rebranded will be placed here, and then we can use the Chaos Base as we pitch the Tracer, grab ourselves the Wyver Buster, and from there we can go into the Romulus with the Wyver Buster and the Lubellion, in which now we can use the Wyver Buster Chainlink 1, Romulus Chainlink 2, grab ourselves the Ravine and the Collapse Serpent, as I'm now going to special summon the Collapse Serpent, put back the Wyver Buster with Rebranded, which is something cool you can do. Then use the Ravine here, pitching one of the random cards that we have, sending the Absolrator, and from here it's just going to be more regular Dragon Link plays, as we're going to get the Wyver Buster back. We're going to use the Chaos Base here, get back the Striker Dragon. We draw into the Red MD, which we're not going to use, as I'm going to activate the Boot Sector launch, special summoning the Tracer, then we can use the Tracer to bring out the Recharger here. And now I'm going to go into the Striker Dragon, use the Pisty, bringing back the Tracer, and from here we can go into the Dilingerous, then link those away for Quad Boral, use Quad Boral's effect, pitch a random card, then bring back a Tracer and a Recharger, special summon back the Dilingerous with its effect. Then we can link those off for Boral End, and then we can synchro away into Savage and equip the Romulus for the 2 counters. So if Boral End Savage isn't something you're accustomed to in Dragon Link, I don't know what to tell you, but during the end phase, you will be able to search a Druid Worm off of the Magnemite, and you still have 2 cards in hand that you could have reinforced your board with to make stronger. Then for the last combo here, and I want to shout out Trishula. He's another YouTuber, and I'll be linking a link to his channel down below in the description. I thought that this was a really cool combo because of how you're able to utilize Seifert with the new Bystial cards. So I'll shut up now and start activating the Lubellion. And from there I can add the Saronir, which I can now normal summon the Seifert, pitching the Saronir instead of itself or tributing, and then I can add the Magnemite, which now I can use the effect of Saronir to put the rebranded into graveyard, and now I can banish the Saronir for the Magnemite, use the Magnemite's effect, tribute it off and get the Lubellion, then get the branded beast off of Lubellion, link the Seifert away into Striker Dragon, use the Striker Dragon's effect. Now I can link those two away into Romulus. Romulus will get us into Ravine. Now we can activate the Ravine, pitch a random card, which will send us the Abso Router, and from here you're just doing regular Dragon Blink plays as you saw in the previous combo, as I'm going to use the Boot Sector, special summon the Tracer. We can now use the Tracer's effect, popping the Boot Sector and special summoning the Recharger, special summoning or link summoning the Pisty and going into the Quad Boral. We can then use the Seifert to bring back the Lubellion, which is a cool play because now you have a free discard. So we're going to use the Pisty here, bringing back the Saronir, and now we can link away into Dillingerous, as we're going to use the Quad Boral, sending away the Dillingerous, bringing back the Tracer and the Recharger, using the Dillinger effect in graveyard to get us the Boral End, and then we can use the Boral End, bringing back the Tracer, to give us our Synchro materials for Borreload Savage Dragon, and we can equip back the Romulus for the 2 counters, move on to the end phase here, as we'll get the Branded Beast to place back the rebranded, and then we can get the Druid Worm off of the Magnemite. So a very interesting archetype of DD Crows here that can also end on spell and trap cards that actually do stuff on your opponent's turn, while also being able to amass advantage. Though I am interested to see how this deck evolves over time as Konami starts to release cards around it. As we've seen, the Kashtari cards don't have a lot of darker light types, and if that deck is to be our meta, then the Bystial cards may only be good in select decks, which is why I show these two in specific. But with all of that out of the way, I'll now move on to the deck profiles. So I'll start by saying that these deck profiles have a lot of room to improve, as I feel there will need to be adjustments made the more the meta changes because of Darkwing Blast, and we have Magical Mavens not shortly after, which will bring the Ishizu cards. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how these age. So as you'll see, there's 3 Alubers here, 2 Albaz because we're not playing tiers, the 1 Tragedy, 1 Ad Libitum, 1 Called By, and 2 Talents, the 3 Lubellions, the 2 Branded in Red, the 1 Druid Worm, the 1 Saronir, the 3 Magnemites, the 3 Branded Openings, 3 Super Polys, the 1 Rebranded, the 3 Branded in High Spirits, the 3 Branded Fusion, 3 Droplets, 1 Branded Beast, and 3 Mines. I don't think that there's too much to go over with this, as everyone kind of knows what Despia does, and I feel like the first combo that I showed with Despia is something that has been seen a million times before, which will move me on to the extra deck, which we have Underworld Goddess. I do want to read Volo. This is a rank 6 that you can use with the Bisted cards, and this card is actually really good along with Beatrice. It takes 2+ level 6 monsters. Monsters you control gain 100 attack defense for each card in your opponent's graveyard. Quick effect, you can target 1 card in your opponent's graveyard, then detach 1 or 2 materials from this card to activate the appropriate effect. Shuffle it into the deck if 1. If 2, if it is a monster, special summon it to your field in face-up attack position, face-up defense position, or face-down defense position. Otherwise meaning if it's a spell or trap, set it to your field. You can only use this effect of Volo once per turn. So if you're able to use 2 Bisted monsters on an opposing tier player and somehow end their turn off of that, being able to just hard make this is very strong in my opinion, as it's also an interesting counter to other decks like Runic, where if they don't have enough of their Runic spells, you can always steal them from the graveyard, though your stealing is just limited to 1 of them. Then we have the Guardian Chimera here. There is no poly in the main deck, so there's only 1. The Dragos Depelia right now is more of a super poly target. And the Q here, the Mask, the Albalanatis, the 2 Albions, the 2 Lubellians, the 2 Mirajades, Garura Mud Dragon for the Super Polys to round out the deck profile. Onto the Dragon Link deck profile, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I'm proud of this one or not. I'm not a huge Dragon Link player. In fact, the only time I ever touched this deck was when it was meta and I wanted to kind of learn the plays with Chaos Ruler for myself. Outside of that, it's just never been a deck that I've wanted to play myself. So to begin, we'll have the 1 Red Eyes Darkness Metal, the 3 Lubellians, the 3 Magnamuts, the 1 Druid Worm, the 1 Saronir, the 1 Noctovision, 1 Levianir, the 1 Router, the 1 Rocket Synchron, the 1 Recharger, the 2 Tracer and 2 Safer. This could be 3 Tracer and 1 Safer. It depends on what you want to do. And there's the 1 Wyver Burster, the 1 Collapse Serpent, the 1 Rebranded, Dragon's Ravine, the 1 Boot Sector, the 3 Quick Launch, the 3 Talents, the 1 Called By, the 3 Droplets, the 3 Chaos Base, the 3 Imperms, and the 1 Branded Beast to round out the main deck. For the extra deck, we have Borland, Appaloosa, the Unicorn, Masquerena, Ark, Romulus, the 2 Spheres, the 1 Dillingerus, the 1 Quad Boral, the 1 Pisty, the 1 Striker Dragon, 1 Baron, the 1 Savage, and the 1 Volo to round out the deck profile. I'm also going to take out these extra deck cards here because I rewrote a deck that this used to be for a deck before even Power of the Elements, so that's kind of why the Twin Twisters and stuff were there. But I hope that this video was able to help you in learning the cards. I know that there wasn't much to go through as it's just an engine of DD Crows basically with a searcher that can get you disruptions or a resource card in the form of Rebranded. If you have patience, the closer that we get to the release date of Darkwing Blast, I will be releasing some spice that I'm looking forward to showing because there's just different stuff that you can do with the Bystial cards that is kind of insane because of how many decks you can splash them in. You have to keep in mind I only showed Dragon Link and Despia, which are 2 of the more anticipated decks to receive this support. I also haven't mentioned Sprite, but that's an entire other story because they're getting sprinned. And I guess another thing that I haven't mentioned is the fact that you can play around with your Bystial ratios. If you're playing Sprite and you want to counter tiers, I think that you can just go with the 3 Magnamuts and the 1 Druid Worm. Just being able to hit tiers alone will do a lot for the matchup. I've also seen people run the Bystial engine as a 1-in-1. Can also treat it like a 3 of and do 2 Magnamuts and 1 Druid Worm. Just depends on what you're playing and how much slots you want to invest into it. But because of how powerful these cards are in this current format, I do suggest taking a look at them. See if there's a way that you can fit them in to help benefit your plays. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I thank you for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.